this is what we see in our textbook. This is from page 36. So for this, they're looking at a very short paragraph or just a series of sentences, and they have to pull out the correct vocabulary to put a check, right? What does TOEIC try to do in this case to trick up the students? They put similarly paired words in different ways. Sometimes they'll take a group of prepositions like this, and the students have to know which is the correct preposition in the context, right? That's actually pretty hard, and our students struggle with it. You can see that when they're doing the writing. Or they'll take vocabulary that relates to the same topic, and again, they'll have to know collocations to do that correctly. So I think this is actually pretty difficult in some ways, but actually a good exercise for the students. I don't mind doing the TOEIC practice in the classes myself. I don't spend an awful lot of time explaining the answers. I think the more they see these challenges and what they have to know for it, that's the important thing for them to know what they don't know. Yes. So these are probably the three main challenges, I think, for the text completion section. Time crunch, vocabulary and context, grammar applications. Okay, just broadly identified. Time crunch isn't really a big issue for us when we're teaching our classes. Even for our tests, I think most of my students turned in their tests after maybe 30 minutes. So they weren't really pressed for time, I didn't think. Vocabulary and context was a little difficult. Of course, I can explain that in classes we're practicing. The actual midterm and final written exams are a little bit different. Grammar applications, again, we go through similar grammar in class. They've been exposed to it. Using it in the moment in that kind of test can be difficult at times. Okay. Any questions about this?
Nick, you
Yes.
mentioned the vocabulary. You know how we give them a list to study before the test? Will we have that list of words that they could hear in the TOEIC test, so to give them the opportunity to study vocabulary before actually taking it, so that
I don't know. I don't know whether they were planning to.
Can we have that vocabulary in the test?
I don't know. I don't make those tests, and I think they come from the practice section. If you did do that, it would make it really easy,
Oh, okay.
I think.
Because I think to give them the opportunity to actually study the vocabulary, if that word wasn't mentioned in class time.
Yeah, you're trying to teach for content,
Yeah.
but the test is designed for global knowledge, right?
I
So
see.
that's sort of if I was in charge of that, I probably wouldn't want to do that.
Okay.
I would maybe send that list to the teachers to try and expose the students to that vocabulary in class, something like that, but maybe not hand it off to the students.
Sure, because when students are taking these TOEIC exams, the amount of vocabulary that they're meant to study is
Right.
it's infinitesimal.
It's enormous, yeah. But I think it does
But it has a content.
it does sort of divide the better students from the average students and the students that do not improve, right? So I don't think it's an unfair thing that we're doing personally, but I know it's not what we're used to doing. We're
So
using a testing format that is not really designed to test for content like we normally would in our classes. This is the new layout, by the way. So it's basically the same thing. The actual reading text is not longer. It's just more coherently structured so you can see the actual paragraph and the missing words. Okay. Now, the last thing I was going to do is show you a section from our textbook. Yeah, and so, this one, I think, how many of you actually did this with your students, did the practice? Okay, so you're probably familiar with this already. If we look at number 1, when should you call back? It's a little tricky because there's even a little bit of a time crunch with the listening. there's a lot in the process here from question to question. It sort of goes in order, it sort of doesn't. They will hear things like Monday through and then a day. I think it's actually Thursday in this audio. But, so they'll be thinking about that, and then they'll hear the term 9 a.m. at some point, but the real answer is during business hours, and they don't even say that in the audio. Okay? So it's an inference question, and that's one of the things that's really hard for the students. I don't even know what to tell you as far as, oh, teach this way, and then they'll do better with it. I don't know if that's really the point. I think the point is for them to identify why it's hard, and then try to improve their English skills based on that, which is why we try to build skills, right, rather than teach to a test. Okay.
The textbook should really be a TOEIC textbook.
It should be here.
Well, putting these TOEIC practices at the end of every second unit, like after Unit 2, after Unit 4, it's clear that the focus of the book is not to do with actually improving their TOEIC scores. It's just to kind of re-familiarize themselves with the structure of that test.
I suppose. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're so trained to think, teach, to assess on what we've taught, right? And that's really not what's happening with this course.
The book doesn't give
The
any
book
strategies
doesn't
whatsoever.
instruct them to do well on these tests per se. It does expose them to workplace English,
Yeah.
and a lot of the context here is workplace English. So that's valid.
Mhm.
Vocabulary is not, it's not a direct transfer either. Even the collocations that are very important in TOEIC, we don't really go over that in great detail, although it's in the book. But so mostly I just look at what is difficult and I try and show them that, and then after we would do the listening, in this case I might go question by question, explain to them why what they might have thought was correct wasn't correct, that kind of thing, what they could listen for.